They say it takes a village to raise a child, but who's supporting you?
At Tambarkas Physiotherapy, we, Harris and Angelique, provide expert family-centred care. From injury rehab to postpartum recovery or simply feeling confident to move again, we're here for you.
Come visit us in our Padstow clinic and mention Wita sent you.
Hello and welcome to Wine with Wita, the podcast that is dedicated to engaging with health professionals and caregivers in meaningful discussions. I'm your host, Rita Shamoon, or as my clients call me, Wita. I'm a paediatric speech pathologist and I am so excited to have you here. Each week, we deep dive into connecting you with caregivers and healthcare professionals, sharing their insights, stories, and key takeaways to help you with your child's diagnosis and your journey. Whether you are a parent, healthcare professional, a lifetime learner, or simply a wine enthusiast, you're in the right place. So let's sit back and relax and enjoy today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome to Wine with Wita. As you know me, I'm Wita or Rita Shamoon. I'm a speech pathologist, and today I am so excited to talk to Maria Perco. Maria is a pediatric occupational therapist and the founder of Move, Play, Grow, where she helps children build the motor and sensory and self-care skills they need to succeed at school and in life. Occupational therapy focuses on helping kids develop everyday skills from holding a pencil to managing sensory challenges. They are also important for school readiness, but sometimes fly under the radar. Today, Maria and I will unpack what does school readiness mean from an occupational therapy lens, and it actually means beyond letters and numbers as well. Maria, please, I welcome you to Wine with Wita today.
Thank you, Rita, and I really appreciate you inviting me on. I'm so excited to do this and unpack the school readiness.
I think it's just so fitting because you were a previous guest on Wine with Wita when I had the screen time discussion with other health professionals, and your insight then was so valuable and helped so many parents. I can't wait to dig deep and pick your brain about occupational therapy and school readiness today.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Oh, okay. Let's get rock and rolling. I see you have a wine glass there, firstly. Please share.
Well,
Ooh.
this is some holy water. This is just water. I don't actually drink wine, but in the spirit of Wine with Wita, I put it in a little wine glass that actually belongs to my daughter. It's a little
It's a gorgeous glass. It's pink, one of my
it?
favorite colors. I love it. I love how you even picked something else that starts with W as well, which is water.
Close enough.
So, Maria, please tell the listeners about who you are and what inspired you to start your business, Move, Play, Grow. And what is occupational therapy as well?
Awesome. We'll do. So I am Maria. First and foremost, I am a mummy to three beautiful and cheeky children. Mario, my eldest, who is 8. Eva is 6. And my little one, Michael, is 3.5. I am a paediatric OT and I've been doing this for 10 years now. I opened Move, Play, Grow OT about 8 years ago now. And this is a little private clinic in Gregory Hills, just outside of the Camden area. I was inspired to open my own business actually when my firstborn was about 9 weeks old. I suspected he had some reflux, digestive issues. So I took him to a pediatrician who is based in Camden, which is close to where I live. And he was sort of unpacking what my husband and I did. And he said, "So what's your job?" And I said, "Oh, I'm an OT. I'm a pediatric OT." And his sort of eyes lit up and he said,
Yeah.
"Sorry, please," and this was years ago where there was such a shortage of services. He said, "Please, if you ever open up a business near here, I promise you, I will make sure your business is successful." And he saw through to that. So I have so much respect to him. But it was him that sort of planted the seed. And from there, I just slowly built this business that is become so amazing. Another baby to me, actually.
It does feel like a baby, doesn't it? Because we
Yeah,
love it so much and we're so protective of it.
you protect it and you feed it as much as you
Yeah.
look after your children.
And it feeds you as well.
Exactly a beautiful relationship,
Yeah.
really. Bit of give, bit of take, but it doesn't come without stress.
Yeah.
On top of that, my husband and I, we co-founded an app actually end of last year.
Oh, yeah.
We
Tell the listeners about this wonderful app that I just recently started to use. And for any allied health professional using it, it is a time saver. It's so effective, particularly if you're a mobile therapist. It's the best thing for me, and it saved me so much stress and time as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so it would have been last year. I just noticed that there was such a gap in the market for communication tools for allied health professionals in general and in the disability sector. I started looking for an app to use to start communicating with families, particularly, like you said, after mobile sessions, where I could just take some photos, upload it with a little bit of a script of what we had done during that session, or feeding back following clinic sessions, so it would just ease that transition. And a lot of the apps were daycare based apps, and
Yeah.
felt like for a lot of our kids it's not quite dignified, and I also questioned the confidentiality of a lot of those
Yeah.
apps. So what did we do in typical impulsive Maria style? I had booked
Love it.
different meetings within the week with different app developers, and by January we all guns blazing, we were developing this app, and yeah, it's come to fruition now, and it's so exciting because we've implemented it at Move Play Grow, and it's so nice to see a lot of other businesses come on board and sign up to it, and hearing their feedback of how it's changed the way they practice and how they're getting all that admin time back, which is really nice. So
Yeah.
yeah, little shout out to that.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. And for anyone interested, it's included in the show notes as well. But yeah, you can also contact Maria on her social media platform if you want to know more about that app. Now,
Thank you.
Maria, we see so many children starting school, and in our clinic, I get asked this question pretty much every week. Is my child ready for school? They seem bored. I think they're ready, but are they ready? I would love to know your perspective about what does an occupational therapist do when it comes to working with young kids, preparing them for school?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So you mentioned before that, you know, letters and numbers are an important part of school readiness, right? Sort of. I think there's that misconception that a child
Yeah.
needs to know their letters and numbers and identify them. But OTs, I feel like we bring a bit of a unique lens to school readiness because we look beyond the academics. Being ready for school isn't just about that, it's about digging deeper. We take a bottoms up approach, so we look at the central nervous system as the foundation of any skill. So, what that means is sensory regulation. We're looking at things beyond letters like
Yeah.
attention and focus, a child's ability to follow instructions, managing their emotions, how they interact with peers, sensory regulation within the classroom. There's a lot more than we would assume when we
Yeah.
dig deeper.
I guess there's that misconception that a child needs to know how to write their name or needs to know their letters just to somewhat be ready. But as you beautifully explained, it's so much more than the letters itself. It's the bottom foundations that is so important for their learning, which will eventually lead to their writing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So
Mm.
fine motor skills are a lot more than holding a pencil. We want to look at the muscles in their fingers, how they're working, but it doesn't just start with the fingers. We move all the way up to our core and our trunk stability and then into the gross motor skills, because if we don't have adequate postural stability, well, then how could we possibly have those fine motor skills that kiddies need to be able to have
Mm.
endurance to even finish an activity? So, yes, fine motor skills is a big one that people link to school readiness, but in my professional and probably personal opinion, it's probably tiered down here in comparison to the other skills that we really want kids to have when they do commence school.
Yeah. What are those big skills that you're looking for? If a parent were to ask you, Marie, is my child ready? I know it's such a broad question because there's so many areas that we can tap into. But what are 3 big aspects that you're looking into? Is it fine motor as one, attention as another? I'm only seeing it from my speech pathology lens. So I'm actually curious from your lens too. What areas are
Give you a bit
you
more than
looking
3,
into?
So self-help skills are probably one of the biggest
Okay.
ones. And I probably feel like it's one of the determining factors of whether if you're on the fence about, oh, do I start them this year or next year, and you have the capacity to make that choice, do they have independence in self-care activities? Can they dress themselves? It's important because when they use the bathroom, they need to have adequate skill to pull up and pull down their bottoms,
Yeah.
wipe adequately, remove their jumpers if it's hot, put their shoes on and off if they've got sport or they need to take them off, opening and closing lunch boxes, zippers on bags, and drink bottles. Like, I've heard stories of little ones going to school and not having those skills and going all day without accessing their lunchbox, because paired with the self-help skills
Yeah.
is the self-advocacy skills. And if they don't have the self-advocacy skills to say, or to to say, oh, I can't do this, or they don't have the
Yeah.
confidence to use their language skills to the teacher, they're going home with a full lunchbox, and it's really
Yeah.
sad. That breaks your heart as a parent. You don't want your kid to come home starving and not confident
Yeah.
enough to say, oh, I need help.
I
Yeah,
love how you mentioned that because that just shows the importance of working a multidisciplinary approach there. The goal is self help and self advocacy. If the child cannot communicate, I cannot do this, I need help, how can they then complete the task? So, if you're worried about your child not knowing how to communicate their needs, we need to look into working on those requests and their ability to ask for assistance alongside supporting their ability to do that task too.
yeah, absolutely. I think the self advocacy is a big one that I advocate for too, um,
Mm,
because these little kids, they're only, most of them are 4, 5, or 6.
yeah.
All of them are really, and they're still learning
Mm,
language and communication skills. And I know you're the expert here on that. But we
yeah.
want children to be able to articulate their needs throughout the day, and that stems across not just self help skills, but understanding their interoceptive skills and being able to
Yeah.
say, oh, actually, I have a bit of a sore tummy. I'm going to use my language skills to go up to my
Yeah.
teacher and inform her, or I'm feeling uncomfortable, or I can't see the board, or whatnot. And,
Mm,
it's so interesting because I've got 2 of my 3 in school. And in retrospect, I reflect upon my first starting versus my second starting. And my first was, he was wasn't even 5 yet, but he turned
okay.
5 in the March, and I was so
Mhm.
conflicted because I have this very bright, intellectual little boy who needs constant stimulation, mental stimulation. So I felt very
Yeah.
conflicted, but I also knew that from a social emotional point of view, it might not have been the best decision, especially
Yeah.
coming off COVID. Um,
Bingo. Big
yeah,
one.
big one, massive one. And I did send
Yeah.
because I thought he was already starting to lack attention at daycare, and I was
Mm,
concerned that another year there would probably impact his behaviour. Um, versus my daughter, who was 5.5 when she started, and I look at their language skills and their capacity to self advocate. And my little Mario at the time, I knew he was so shy. He didn't talk much. He struggled to make friends. Yeah, he really, from a language perspective and a confidence perspective, wasn't quite there. Whereas little Eva,
mm.
I get phone calls from the school. Oh, Mrs. Perco, Eva's forgot her glasses again. She's told us she can't see. Oh, Mrs. Perco, oh, Eva's come to the office. She's got a bit of an itchy knee. And so it's chalk and cheese.
Someone's advocating just a bit too much.
Oh my gosh, so funny. But it's very reassuring to know that she's okay because she has those
Yeah.
skills. While he has other skills, he lacks in that, and lacked in that up until probably, I would say, even a year ago. And maybe that's I don't know, boys versus girls,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But definitely that. I think another really, really important one is a child's capacity to build and nurture relationships. Um, you
Mm.
know, understanding conflict resolution, understanding social cues, problem solving in social contexts. We don't often think about the transition from kindergarten to from daycare to kindergarten, where
Okay.
daycare the
Mm.
ratios are bigger than what they are in playground, and there's a lot more direct supervision in um, daycare, and then you're sending them out in kindergarten with um, way less direct
Yeah.
supervision, which means that
Structure,
a lot less
rules.
structure,
Yeah.
rules, and it leaves kids to their own devices to navigate these social
Mm.
situations, which is so daunting for them. So I think a really important thing for parents to consider is that their kids have been observed in playgrounds or in daycare to have the skill to understand where they stand in
Yeah.
social contexts, and also navigate the challenges of it.
Yeah, yeah, so true. And it's even knowing, can your child do things independently? And there's that misconception. Yes, they are ready, they're intelligent, they can they do things without someone doing it for them? And that's something I find with a lot of young clients starting early, they just don't have the strong independent skills to complete tasks as well as the emotional maturity too. I want to know now. I find a lot of kids have trouble sitting still. They need to possibly have one of those wobbly cushions, or they always need to be moving all the time. Is that something that parents should be cautious about, or know that they might not be ready for school if they're having trouble attending to tasks?
Yes, it's a big one. And
Mm.
I'm going to be a little bit controversial and say, and no. Yes, and no.
Okay.
Yes, attention is absolutely paramount in learning. We can't learn if we don't attend.
Yeah.
But a lot of the kids and a lot of the referrals we see this day and age is around, we'll say, difficulties with attention and difficulties sitting for long durations and attending for long durations. And that is purely because kindergarten kids, their bodies are not designed and they're not supposed to sit in durations of time.
Yeah.
So many learn best through movement and play, and unfortunately, that environment is not provided to them in a lot of the schooling environments. But with saying that, we are seeing a lot more teachers these days on board with sensory strategies and
Yeah.
movement breaks and wobble pillows. And I know my kids' school has an array of seating options available for kids that don't have adequate postural control, that can sit on the floor, lay on a beanbag, sit up on the podium, sit up in a booth. They've got so much available to them now. So it's really nice to see schools on board. But in saying that, if a child doesn't have the focus or attention, it's going to be very hard for them to learn. And that's when intervention probably needs to step in a little
Yeah.
bit and support
Yeah.
them through their sensory systems, through mostly their proprioceptive and vestibular sense, to take in more, to regulate, and then to absorb as much as they can in that regulated state.
So much
So
more than handwriting, isn't it?
we laugh sometimes when we get a referral for kids come in and it's like just handwriting, because we know it's never, ever, ever just handwriting. I mean, don't get me wrong, over the many years of doing this, I've probably had three that were just purely handwriting.
Simply handwriting.
I'm not joking, but there's always a bit more. There's so much more. There's motor planning complexities that come with handwriting, or sensory integration strategies that are needed, or there's just so much. We need 10 podcasts to cover it all, Rita.
Yeah. We should do this on like a occupational perspective for each developmental area.
But this whole series in its attention is very closely linked to sensory processing, and we know that we need to support our little kids who require movement in the classroom a lot more than we have in previous decades. But it's nice to see a change.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also working with other professionals to get the best outcome for the child, including teaching staff. Always speaking with the teaching staff to know what are they observing in the classroom? How is the child behaving in a certain way as their way of communicating that there's something might be underlying there?
For sure, the teachers are their voice, and we need to collaborate
Yeah,
in order to hear it, because
yeah,
kids will come back and give some feedback to parents, but the teachers have the background of it all. And so it is
yeah.
collaboration between, speeches, OTs, sites.
Everyone together.
Yeah, it is.
You mentioned that word referral. You receive a referral. Now I receive a lot of referrals after term one when the teachers have no
Yeah.
after the teachers have noticed some concerns. You get them too, I know. What key difficulties do you notice with children in kindergarten that are being referred to occupational therapy so parents can be aware of what challenges their child may have so they can support them before they start school?
Yeah. So a lot of the referrals we get are around, yes, fine motor skills and kids not having a functional pencil grasp, like
Mhm.
OTs refer to it as a tripod grasp or a quadrupod grasp. Again,
Mhm.
in the grand scheme, not massively important, but we do want to build to those skills. The self help skills, like we covered, the social emotional aspect of things, so the relational stuff, the
Mm.
sensory regulation. That's probably the biggest sensory processing stuff that comes through for us. And that, again, in turn, impacts attention and focus. Another one that we see is a lot of the visual perception skills. Children are having difficulty recognizing their names. So, and that might be amongst all the names of the grade or of their class. So we look at things like visual scanning, figure ground, visual discrimination, and then how their hands and eyes work together. So visual motor integration. They're the sort of things that we're assessing because those skills often impact learning. Um, we see a lot of referrals around difficulties with transitions and adapting to
It's a big one.
routine changes because, well, there's lots of ebbs and flows through the day for kids, and there's periods of intense work, and there's periods of play and periods of rest, and it's navigating those different routines and challenges because all of those different tasks come with different sensory demands. And
Yeah.
kids in kindy who have had their main co-regulators and safety net with them all the time to help them navigate that find that really challenging, and it really
Yeah.
is. They are
Mm.
learning, again, I use the word interoceptive processes. They need to learn what their body's feeling without the prompts of, oh, are you hungry, do you need to go toilet? They're left to their own
Mm.
devices. They're navigating their sensory systems, their own self regulation. Some of these kids have not practiced that enough prior to going to school um, as well. So that's a massive one, the routine and shifts in the day, as well as, again, the communication skills of
Yeah.
self advocacy and just using enough language for the teacher to understand. But we are seeing a lot more teachers implement visuals in the classroom, which does help to a
Mm.
point, but yeah, so they're probably the main
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah. I'm only assuming a mother or a teacher listening to this podcast will be saying, "Yeah,
Yeah.
my child has trouble with that," and they're nodding. Could you give some strategies that parents can use to support their child's skills or development to somewhat get them ready for school?
Yeah.
Let's categorize that in different areas. So I like the idea of sensory regulation. That's a big one for young kids, especially with managing their emotions. Let's provide some everyday strategies that parents can use in their home to prepare. Let's prepare the best word to support their child's development.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice that a lot of people are more aware of sensory processing. That
Mm,
makes our job a lot easier. But there's a lot of misconception about what sensory processing is, and people assume that's just
mm,
play or tactile play. Yes, that's a nice part of it, but there are so many parts of it. So I think understanding your child's sensory patterns when your child has meltdowns, note down what happened in that lead up. Note the environment, note the sound levels, note the noise levels, note the movement of people around. Those sort of things are going to help you identify patterns, and then that'll help you implement strategy around what do I need to do to assist my child if they do have some sensitivities or avoidances, or they're seeking different patterns in the environment. So then you'll look at that, you'll analyze that a little bit, and you'll say, okay, well, my child really struggles with loud noises, so I'm going to put some noise cancelling headphones on, or my child is really coming home after daycare and going quite wild on the couch. And I know this from experience with my son. He would jump up and down on the couch for ages after daycare for a day full of masking and being compliant. And he still does it now. Means coming home and being an absolute cyclone. So nurturing them through that and saying, all right, well, your body needs a lot of movement here. Let's go outside. Let's do some wheelbarrow races. Let's kick a ball. Let's get on the trampoline or on the swing, or let's stop at the park if you don't have access to those things in your backyard. But you don't need amazing equipment, and you don't need to take them to amazing sensory classes. Everything you do is sensory experience. So really like taking in what your kid responds to and what they're sensitive to will help. That's a massive part for sensory.
Before we dive back in, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Timbarkus Physiotherapy. As a speech pathologist and a mum, I'm reminded every day that it really does take a village to raise a child. And having the right people in that village makes all the difference. Timbarkus Physiotherapy is one such team. They offer thoughtful, holistic care that supports not only the child, but also the whole family. Whether it's helping little bodies move more freely or supporting parents through recovery and beyond, they understand that real progress happens when the whole support network is considered. If you're looking for a physio or an exercise physiologist who will walk beside you, visit Tembarkus Physiotherapy and let them know Wita sent you. I love how you said, Maria, sorry to interrupt you. I love how you said note down the behaviors and what somewhat ignites that, because teachers need to know this too. They will need to know this child needs to move a bit more. He might need a crash mat. He might need to have those noise cancelling headphones, because that will make him a better learner. Yeah. It's about the behavior expressing themselves, but understanding the why.
It's it's an argument sometimes I battle with some teachers. Some of them are amazing, but I think there's some teachers that are really sort of, and I don't want to generalize, but are stuck in their traditional methods of teaching, are quite compliance based. And you're doing yourself an injustice if you can just run with it and learn from the behaviors that you're seeing in your classroom and adapting some of your teaching methods. You are going to have more regulation at the end of the day from your students and from yourself. Because I know how I feel after a day of seeing clients, and if I worked against them and not with them, I would be struggling a whole lot more, So teachers play a big part in aiding sensory integration within the classroom.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that insight. It's so useful to let everyone know how to support their kids. So we've got sensory. The next aspect was fine motor. What can parents do to support their child's hand and grip? All of those beautiful words that you use.
Play. It's as simple as that.
Play.
Play.
Interesting.
Well, we learn most through play, and children develop the foundational skills through play, through crawling, through being on their hands and knees, and through whatever, accessing the toys that you have at home. Those are the things that kids should be doing. We want to keep them kids as long as we can. Once they get to school, it's routine structure and academic activities. So playing with them as much as possible in the build up is the best thing you can do. Ball skills, get in the playroom, Lego, whatever they are motivated by, use that. And
It's interesting you say this because I've got in my head that my kids need to only pick up pegs or squeeze like a squishy ball. It's so much more than that. Hey,
It
interesting.
is because, again, I think I referred to it earlier. We don't just look at the finger muscles; we move all the way up
Yeah.
to the upper extremity, the chest, and we want to build those muscles too because they all play a part. And yes, doing Play-Doh is amazing. Playing with pegs are great too. They will refine the motor skills, the fine motor skills that you do need. But you can never underestimate the power of play. We will, anyone who's going to advocate for that hard because we know, and there's research that says that that children um, they retain information and whatnot better through play. So learning
Play.
through
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So
Love it.
uh,
That's awesome.
yeah, I think another one that ties in with fine motor though is crossing the midline, and another big one.
Explain that. Because
Yeah,
parents might not know that. Yeah. What
yeah.
does crossing the midline mean?
Well, I'm going to put it really, really basic, but if you imagine a line down the
Mhm.
center of your body separating both halves of it, you've got the two hemispheres of the brain. It's the way that those two hemispheres of the brain communicate with each other across the body. So we want upper limb extremity, so the arms and the feet crossing that midline to
Mhm.
build. It's an important skill in building hand dominance and in self-care activities. So if you picture wiping, you're wiping at the midline. When you picture crossing your legs are crossed at the midline. Um, so another one that's all achieved through, again, ball games, play, clapping games, twisting upper body, ball back to back. There's so much access to activities, even if through a Google
You can
search
do
of
that through play.
it, everything's through play.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm just thinking of activities like you can just be dancing or doing something and that will
Yoga,
then help that area of development. Yoga. Did you say yoga?
yoga, the hokey pokey. Like
Wow.
Simon says, there's so much fun ways to do it where it doesn't feel like homework, and that's a big part of everything that
Yeah. I
we do.
love how you said that.
Yeah.
As a mum, do you resonate this feeling with me? Like, I think we overcomplicate it.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
But we just need to go back to the basics of
Yeah,
connecting and playing. Yeah.
and sometimes we need it as therapists. Practice what we preach
Mhm.
because I complicate it. My kids, I might spend 40 minutes setting up an activity for them to play for 5 minutes when really
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be that complicated. It really doesn't.
Mm.
Again, and another one, if we're coming, yeah, from fine motor and crossing midline, is into this is the co-regulation and building
Yeah.
regulation strategies with children. That is such an
Mm.
important thing to start working on from as early as they're born, to be honest. A lot of breath work together, a lot of, oh, I see you're
Yeah.
frustrated, let's take a breath
Yeah.
together. Because as a parent, the lead up to starting school is not just stressful for
Highly anxious.
them,
Yeah.
yeah, but for you
Yeah.
too. So providing them with a safe space to offload, unwind, and co
Mm.
regulate will help them in their independence with it.
Yeah. For a parent not understanding what co-regulation means, just like breathing together, holding, squeezing, taking time out, being in a quiet place,
Yeah,
talking about it, linking it back to their emotional vocabulary, and how you simply said, I see, or you're showing me that you're really upset or frustrated right now. Let's talk about the why. Is that what you would suggest?
yeah, you said holding space. It's about
Yeah.
two people processing their emotions together, essentially, and holding space for one
Mm.
another within a safe environment. And as parents, that's one of our biggest jobs for our little ones. So,
Yeah.
um, because I think also it's important to note that when the kids start school and you're not there, you want to be able to show your children or encourage relationship with your children with other people because essentially their teachers are going to be their co-regulators at school. I think that's
Yeah.
another important point for parents to take note of is that when you're dropping off your kid at school, and if you've got a clingy kid or a highly anxious child, that it's important to drop off your child with an adult and not an activity because in those first few
What do
weeks,
you mean by that?
so instead of when you drop off your child in kind in the first few weeks, it's obvious. Oh, often play-based activities and play-based learning. So you'll go into the kindy classroom and there's a lot of activities for kids set up, and they'll go and they'll start just to transition into school. It's a lot more easier rather than taking them to an activity and saying, "All right, have a good day." If you know your child's quite anxious, go to the adult that they've
Yeah.
already familiar with. Because typically, a lot of the schools send a photo of the teacher that they're going to have the
Teacher.
follow-up with. So putting that up on your fridge or putting that in your house so that the child can see that face and have that
Even
familiarity.
saying the name.
Say the name. They'll have that sense of familiarity and they'll already know this person essentially. So dropping them off with them and saying, my child's a little bit anxious. I'm sure you see a lot of kids that are also anxious. But do you mind if I do the handover with you? And when you're
Yeah.
comfortable, then you can transition to an activity. That's a really important one because, they're going from you, safety, to unfamiliar. We want to nurture them through that.
Yeah. I really appreciate you saying that, because parents would think sending them to an activity would spark them joy and they will be feeling happy. But it's so important that they regulate or become familiar with their person, their safe person, really. So whenever there's a need, they have a need that needs to be met, they naturally then will go to the teacher rather than figuring out themselves.
Exactly. They want
Yeah,
that sense.
beautiful. Thank you for mentioning that.
As a parent, you want that sense of safety at school for your child. It's reassuring for you too,
Yeah.
not just the child.
Yeah. If a mother's listening now and her child is turning 5 at the end of February or middle of March, and they're just not sure, they want to do the best for their child. They always think that they always would feel maybe if I send them, it would be better for them because they would learn better, they would be more engaged. What advice could you give that mum to help her or help the parents make their decision?
From a professional and a personal experience,
It's really hard, isn't it?
it is hard, but stretch it out as long as you can.
Yeah.
Let kids be kids as long as possible. But again, it's really dependent also on personal circumstance. You might not have
Yeah.
capacity to take your kid to daycare for an extra year. So if it means
Mm.
okay, but try to stretch it where possible and keep them in daycare or keep them home with you as long as you can, and then
Yeah.
pop them in when you need to.
Yeah. I always use this phrase, it's not keeping them back to let them catch up, but more giving them an extra year to support their learning, which will make them a better communicator, better attentive learner, and helping them build better relationships just that extra year more.
For sure. Imagine what that would do to
Mm.
their self-esteem and their confidence, knowing that
Yeah,
there's
it's huge.
there's less of a gap when it
Mm.
comes to knowledge and
Yes, the
whatnot.
gap. And I always tell parents, like 6 months for a child, the growth that a child experiences in 6 months, imagine what that extra 6 months will do for a child in
Yeah,
a school environment.
yeah, it's
Mm.
huge. It's
Yeah, it's
huge.
big. It's big.
Yeah.
Maria, you have been a darling. Thank you so much for coming on Wine with Wita today. Your insight has been impeccable, and without a doubt, you continue to support so many kids. If parents want to reach you, what's the best way they can contact you?
Through social media, I've got
Mhm.
2 pages,
I'll include it in the show notes for everybody.
through the business page or my personal page, or via email is also fine. Yeah,
Even looking up Move, Play, Grow OT. Yep.
check out our website. We have some information on there also.
Beautiful. Do you offer school readiness programs as well if parents are interested?
Yeah, we do. We run them most terms, and then we
Okay.
do what we call Ready Set Prep in the
Yeah.
January school holidays, which runs for a week, and kids come in their uniform with
Yeah.
their bags to practice.
Oh, that's so cool.
Cutest. It is so
That's so
cute
cute.
watching these little kids with bags the same size as
This is them.
so gorgeous. But yeah, we do offer a lot of school readiness programs, and most clinics do. So if we're not local to you,
Yeah, they do.
I look up your local OT clinic and see what they can offer as well. But
Yeah.
it's a nice option also, especially if you have a child
Yeah.
that might be neurodivergent. Then definitely jump on and help them with that transition.
Yeah. Wonderful. Now, Maria, before I finish up, you know this, I've asked you this question before. If you were to be a better version of yourself tomorrow, Maria, what word would you apply to yourself today?
I would say resiliency.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Love it. Do you want to explain it?
I think we all have moments, don't we, where we feel, not so empowered, or we struggle, or we doubt ourselves, or we don't feel like we're doing a good enough job. So going into the next day, being more resilient, and reassured in yourself, we're all doing the best we can in whatever capacity we are, and that's all that matters, really.
That matters. You're doing the best that you can, and your kids will love you no matter what you do.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you for having me on. And also, just before we finish up, did you just celebrate 1 year of Wine with Wita?
I did. So in April, I celebrated one year of Wine with Wita. And actually, next week, I'm celebrating 3 years of my business, RS Speech Pathology. So I think we need to have a wine together to celebrate.
And a bougie dinner, I'm all for it. But congratulations, what an achievement.
Oh,
That's so
thank
exciting. I've
you.
loved your program. I love listening. I love all the guests that you have on. It's so insightful.
Thank you.
Very
I love that feedback.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. And I appreciate you being part of the journey and sharing your beautiful knowledge to align with what I believe in, empowering parents and supporting their child on their diagnosis and their intervention journey too. So thanks, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And for everybody else, I hope you found this episode really useful. If you want to reach out to Maria, you know where to find all the details in the show notes. But another episode of Wine with Wita will be brought to your ears next week. Take care, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Wine with Wita. I hope you found some new inspiration, learnt something new, or gained a fresh perspective. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd be so grateful if you please leave a 5-star review, as it really helps the show get in the ears of new listeners, plus it takes 5 seconds. If you're keen for more strategies and insights, then head over to Instagram and follow RS Speech Pathology.